Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are watching us from. This is the Inspired Family Leader Program, a program that empowers, that challenges and encourages men to step up their leadership game in their own families first, because if your leadership does not work at home, don't export it elsewhere, says John C. Maxwell. I am your host tonight. My name is Jesse Ainebiona. Professionally, I trained as a mechanical engineer, currently an entrepreneur, a corporate trainer, and a global speaker. I work with Inspired Leaders International, an international leadership development firm that empowers leaders to transform nations. I'm standing in for Samuel Bakutana, the official host for this program, who has traveled about 300 kilometers away from the capital city of Kampala to be part of the consecration of the new Bishop of North Kigezi. We pray for that event happening tomorrow, and we wish him and the rest of the people there all the best. Tonight we are going to be discussing a very critical subject. In a world where technology is no longer a luxury, it is now a necessity. Internet has become a basic need of life. This wave has not only caught us, it has also got to our children. How can we manage addictions in children? How can we help our children to overcome addictions to technology and gadgets? Joining me on the show tonight is a gentleman that is not new to this platform. He is a parenting coach, he is a child advocate, and he is a marriage counselor. Joining me tonight is Dickson Tumuramye. Dickson, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Great to have you on the show.
I'm grateful to be here again.
Fantastic.
Yes.
For the guests who are seeing you for the first time, briefly share with us, tell us more about yourself. Great things lined up here. You're a parenting coach, a child advocate, a marriage counselor. Tell us more about who Dickson is in light of what you do.
First of all, good evening, our viewers. I'm grateful to be here once again on this program of Inspired Family Leaders. My name is Dickson Tumuramye, just as already introduced to me. I am a child advocate, parenting coach. I do marriage counseling, but I'm also a staff at Uganda Christian University as assistant registrar in the Directorate of Postgraduate Studies. I and my wife, we also have an organization that we are currently running. It's called Hope Registration Africa. We are managing it together. We help vulnerable children and orphans. Besides that, I'm married to one wife called Prim Tumuramye. She's a very beautiful wife, and she's also watching, and our children also watching. We have 3 children together, 2 boys and 1 girl. That's briefly about me.
Great. Thank you, and great to have you here. Greetings to your lovely family watching the program.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. I just did not mention that I too am married. My wife is called Diana. Together we have 2 lovely daughters, Ruby, who is 6, and Moriah, who is 3.
I also send greetings to them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This topic that we are discussing is a quintessential subject.
Mm-hmm.
It is a subject that I imagine that many parents deal with, but they just don't know how. Sometimes we give gadgets to children for different reasons.
Yes.
One, we want to keep them busy. First of all, we want to have our time. And for some reason, the only way to keep the child busy is to keep them on the gadget. In order for us to have our own time. So I could go on and on, but let me ask, when we talk about addiction to gadgets, what exactly do we mean here?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jesse. When you talk about addiction to gadgets, we are looking at a sense of being so much on gadgets, having that strong urge to be on either a computer or a smartphone or an iPad or on screen, where you feel like you cannot control it, or where you feel like even whether you're bored or when you're not even bored, you feel like you should be there. And especially these days we have social media, which takes a lot of our time. That even when you're an adult, you feel like you cannot spend more than 5 minutes without checking online to know what is happening, what is trending, what is going on.
Sure.
So addiction to gadgets is basically the urge to be on that gadget that you're using at that particular moment, where you feel like I cannot take more than 5 minutes or more than enough time without checking what is happening. Yes, simply that's the addiction.
Wonderful. When you mention it that way, I imagine the many times you mentioned that even us as adults, it's hard. How much more for children?
For children.
Because sometimes someone can send you a message and you go to your WhatsApp to just reply that message. Then on your way to your WhatsApp, you probably come across a link which takes you to another platform, maybe Facebook or YouTube or somewhere, and then you watch that one. From there, you continue scrolling to the next thing. Before you know it, 30 minutes have passed and you have not yet sent the message that you had gone to send. But all this time, you have been on the screen. So if it can happen for us as adults, how much more?
On children.
For children.
And you know, what is challenging, that this addiction does not have any age group. Anyone can be addicted.
You can say that again.
There's no age group for addiction. Anyone can be addicted from childhood to adulthood. You can all be addicted at any time.
So addictions have no age limit?
Yes.
Okay. Regardless of how old you are, you can be addicted.
That's true.
And let me ask, when we talk about addiction, I know you had explained it, but so addiction is this particular thing you have where you almost find that you can't control yourself when it comes to this gadget. You are on it, and we could go on and on about the effects of these kinds of addictions. We ourselves as adults, it has, as a marriage counselor, tell me, what are some of the things you see these addictions causing in us as adults, even before we get to the children?
I think the thing that this addiction is causing, both adults and children, but especially beginning from adults, that it's a two-way. Some are positive and others are negative.
Yes.
I will begin with a positive impact on us, especially as adults. It's one way, now we are living in a global village. So when you have this gadget where maybe you're on social media, like social media, especially like maybe see WhatsApp these days.
Yes.
It has helped us to come closer to people who are even far away from us.
Very true.
Because you can be there and you're talking to someone, you're chatting, and you feel like you're so much close.
Yes.
For example, recently, this last week, I met with my OBs and OGs whom we have taken more than 10 years without meeting physically.
Yes.
But because we have been chatting on social media, on our class group,
yes,
it's like we've been together, and all of us were like, you guys, it's like we've been together every now and then,
very
physically
true,
missing one another. So
yes,
that kind of interaction that you have, and it brings you somehow closer, even when you are far from each other.
Yes. And
then also, the bit is also that us as adults, especially these days, it's one of communication.
Yes.
You may have something that you want to communicate to the whole world,
yes,
and just sit on your gadget, like a smartphone.
Yes.
You post that thing on social media,
yes,
and it goes viral, and everyone receives the message.
Yes.
People are also using it for marketing their
products
and services. Also,
yes,
part of branding. So it has many good things, but
yes,
the challenge, that the negative part is more dangerous.
Okay.
Because that addiction puts you to danger.
Yes.
In terms of anxiety.
Yes.
You get depression. You get stress.
Yes.
Now, now it comes to children, the impact it has on children, that some of them, especially I've talked about communication and interaction.
Yes.
But children who do not know how to interact very well, face to face,
yes,
they find more liberty in using these gadgets.
Yes.
So that cuts them from social interaction.
Yes.
And they even fear to come interact with you. Yes. And especially when they're introverts.
Yes.
For them it's worse. Because they love loneliness. They love to be in their own space.
Being alone.
Yes. So when they have these gadgets, for them they are feeling more happy and they interact so much with them. But by the time they know it, they cannot do away without them.
Okay.
That's the danger. But also then when it comes to communication,
yes,
it also helps actually children to develop communication, especially like language. Like on my side, my children, they started watching cartoons when they're still young, screen time.
Yes.
And they somehow developed communication, especially English.
That's true.
Like I have my last born is now a girl, 7 years old.
Yes.
At 4 years, she was able to speak this American English.
Yes.
Up to now, she can, when she meets white people from that side, she can change immediately, and she twists her
yes,
her accent can change immediately.
Okay.
So they know many things because of the screen.
Yes.
However, the time spent on the screen is too much for them.
Okay.
That we had somewhat come and limit it.
Yes.
It also, of course, it affects their eyes. It affects their net because they stretch a lot to watch. Even actually to us adults, it kills our necks because every time I was just reading, I think last week, in a certain article somewhere, as we keep watching and reading messages, even as we are walking,
yes,
we somehow stretch our necks, and that affects us.
Yes.
But now when it comes to also in terms of children, some children, when it comes to even communication, they cannot communicate effectively because they are not learning this real communication,
yes,
or language from their peers, from their fellow children. So some, because they are only interacting with that cartoon, that TV, or they're on social media, they are not talking to any other person.
Yes.
So they cannot speak audibly well. They can't develop communication. They can't develop speech very well. It also affects their mental development because they are not creative enough. They're not innovative. They're not cognitively. They get affected. And then when also it comes to students, it affects their academic performance because instead of being revising your books and doing your homework, you know, you're now spending much time on screen, watching. These days, there are many soaps on TVs.
Yes.
So it affects children a lot. Students, they can't perform in class. You're in class, like for me, who's in a university, you can be teaching students, and you see almost like a big number of them are on TV. Sorry, not on TV, sorry, on their phones, and they are chatting. That means that the time they're spending on chatting, they are missing out on explanation from the lecturer. Yes. They are not paying attention to what is being taught in class, so they lose concentration. Yes. Even when they are on TV watching these soaps, especially ladies who like soaps, they're addictive. And before you know it, you instead of reading and revising your books, maybe you have exams or you have an assignment to work on. Much of the time is spent on watching, and before you know it, you cannot perform well in class. Yes. Children also can't concentrate very well because as they are watching, they get so much distracted. For example, if they are eating and again they are watching, they cannot eat very well and in a given period of time because they are watching at the same time they are eating. So somehow they get distracted, they can't eat normally, and that also causes them a lot of challenges. So there are so many negative impacts.
So many, I can tell.
Yeah.
So on one hand, we have said these gadgets are good.
Yes.
On one hand. They have their benefits.
Yes.
Because this is the world that we are living in. We are not going away from technology. We need to use the internet. In fact, many people now are doing homeschooling. Homeschooling is, in some curriculums, they use the internet as their learning tool. So that simply tells us that these tools in any case are bad.
They're not bad.
And when we talk about the topic of addiction, there might be a temptation for us to think, let me completely do away with them. Which mean, I'm not sure how you look at that. Based on this, we shall be coming to how we can control them. But so on one end, we have said they are good, but on the other hand, they have their negative impacts, especially when it becomes too much. The question now becomes, how much is too much?
I think how much is too much depends on the time someone uses that gadget. For example, like us as adults, especially corporate class, who use a lot of our time on our laptops or computers because of our office work. It is very good for you to be on that gadget, but just have like a 30 minutes break after maybe like 2 hours or 3 hours, 4 hours. But don't be on that gadget from 8 when you enter office up to 1 when it's time for lunch. And then that's when you're breaking off from the screen. Because at the end of the day, it affects your eyes, but also you're bending a lot of time, you're typing. So you even feel pain in your shoulders and even your ankles and even in the back. But also you develop chest pain. So you should always make sure that you create some time and just walk around, stretch up. And when it comes to children who have this, where it affects them so much than even adults, it's better that you always monitor how much time they're on those gadgets. So there's no, I can't say there's special time, but I just make sure that they should not spend more than 2 hours non-stop on the screen. And this happens so much in our families, especially those who have screens, TVs. you have TVs in your children. They are not doing anything. Of course, most children who are in enclosure, they don't have what to do in their homes. There are no gardens like for us who grew up from the village. We just go in the garden and do this and the other. So for them, much of their time is on screen. But you shouldn't let your child spend more than 2 hours on that screen.
Yes.
If you're a teen or a youth, don't spend more than 1 hour on that screen or on your phone, on your gadget, because it kills a lot of your time, and you cannot do other things that you should have done. And apart from gadgets, you can do other things which are beneficial to you. But when you just put all your time on gadgets, a lot of things have passed.
Yes.
And you miss out a lot. So your time on the screen depends on what you're doing at that particular moment.
Yes.
But for children, I can't recommend more than even 1 hour on screen, on the TV.
Yes. Watching,
but also on phones.
Yes.
It shouldn't even take more than 10 minutes.
Very true.
Yes.
Thank you. So the point I'm picking here is the point of regulation.
Yes.
Regulate yourself. I think that's the key thing.
That's the key thing.
That's the key thing. Today I was reflecting on something, and I was just asking myself, think about, this was triggered by a conversation that I had with someone who works with one of the companies that sells alcohol, Uganda breweries. And so someone asked in the audience and said, but the product that you're selling is causing all these problems in the community, specifically at home. How do you promote a product that is causing all these challenges? And this gentleman said, no, what we actually promote is we promote responsible enjoyment. That was quite insightful. And then he went ahead to say,
responsible enjoyment.
Enjoy responsibly. What he went ahead to say is, think about even the good things. I mean, good things that we enjoy. For example, exercise. Some people enjoy shopping. Some people, these are good things.
These are good things.
Some people enjoy maybe running, swimming, spending time with friends. These are innocent good things. But when done excessively, even good as they are, they are problems.
As they say, too much of anything
is always bad. That's the point.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, whether good or bad, well, not bad, whatever you do it responsibly.
And limit the time, regulate it, have self-control.
Exactly.
Self-regulation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So here we are not saying that, therefore, because there are all these challenges with gadgets, do away with the gadgets. No. This is the world that we are living in. Your child will have to do some level of research using that gadget. And if you don't train your child, maybe they will find a gadget somewhere else. And you never know how they will use it. You might as well train them to how to use a gadget responsibly.
Yes.
So responsibility here is key. Regulation is essential. Going ahead, we've looked at what it means to be addicted to gadgets. We've looked at, why children get into this kind of trap. Let me ask, why does it become hard for parents to limit, to deal with addictions to gadgets for children? What do you think makes this thing hard? Thank
you so much. Yes, I think what makes it hard for parents to control these gadgets is that, first of all, some of them are already also addicted. So that means they're not role models.
Okay, so I cannot help my child when I'm dealing with a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Then also, some parents don't look at having a child with this gadget as a problem. That at one point, the child might get addicted. So the more you expose your child to a certain gadget, that at the end of the day, there will be some addiction. Let me give an example. If you don't monitor how a child is using a phone, even if someone is a youth, and you don't know even what is happening, that child might misuse that phone. Because it isn't, we know some children are watching pornography on those gadgets. So you need to monitor, you as a parent, monitor and know what is happening. But some don't monitor. They don't even have time to monitor. You have children who are on social media. Of course, most children, our children are now on social media. Facebook, Instagram, all these social media platforms we have.
Yes.
But there are some parents who are not on these social media platforms because they think it's a waste of time. They don't know they shouldn't be there.
Yes.
But that's why our children are having all their time.
Yes. And
they are posting anything they want because they know our parents are not there.
You're not in that space.
And we're not on that space. And if we look at that space as a wastage of time. But I want to urge most of us as parents. At least if you cannot be on all of them, at least be on few of them. ask your children which platforms do you enjoy most, and be part of those ones, so that you know what they post. Or maybe for them they might be posting them, but their friends are posting, and your child is commenting or is watching what is happening. So when you're on those platforms, you are able to know what they are watching, and you are able to tell them that this is what you're watching, or the comment that your friend made on your post was not good. Some children are now being bullied on these social media platforms. So if you as a parent don't know what is happening to your child, there's also sexting. We have seen some children who have been duped. And I remember recently there was a story of 3 children who were being duped when they were going out of the country. And I am sure all this was happening because children were interacting, even using these social media platforms. But maybe the parents didn't know. But what I'm saying is somehow be there and monitor what is happening. Be part of those social media platforms. Monitor what your children are posting. Even you also comment. Be part of the interaction so that you can be able to be friends as you monitor what is happening and you're able to guide them. Also, some children are naive and just permissive. They just take things for granted. They don't care. Whatever the child posts, that is they are old enough. But in that being old enough, when the circumstances turn around and they are negative to your child, you are the loser, because the consequences will affect your child, and you are the one who will also be affected, either directly or indirectly. But at the end of the day, all of you get affected. Yes, so it's better we keep within their space. We keep monitoring. We shouldn't give space, but we should also make sure to talk to them about the negative consequences on being on these gadgets. And also make sure that sometimes when things are beyond your control, you see how best you can manage what is happening. Don't just give up and run away.
Thank you. When you talked about exposure to phones, let me ask you, Dickson, how old were you, if you can remember, when you got your first phone?
Actually, for me, I got my first phone when I was coming to campus in 2002. Yes. And that time, phones were not common. I remember I was actually at Makerere University. And I was doing history. And we used to be so many in our class, but few of us had phones that time. And even in families, few phones were there. It's not like now, where almost every member in a family has a phone.
And I can imagine for children, because I teach children Sunday school at my local church. But just in that class, and I teach P5, P6. They have smartphones. Phones that are better than mine. So I imagine,
and bought by parents.
Bought by parents. So I imagine myself as an adult, I struggle with certain things. I struggle to keep away certain sites myself, because there are certain downloads I make and pop-ups keep coming,
and you run away from
and I have to keep closing them, but they keep popping. I have to keep closing them, but they keep on coming. I have to intentionally do it. I'm not sure a P5 child has that same level of regulation that I have. If I can struggle with it, I'm not sure if a P5 child can manage this. When the hormones begin to rage in S1 and S2, I'm not sure if that child in S1 and S2 has the regulation and responsibility and self-discipline to hold themselves away from opening and clicking on certain pop-ups when they arise.
Of course, they can never. I'm going to give an example from our children. Recently, our 2 boys, there was a pop-up which opened, and they followed it. They followed the link. And it was almost leading them to pornography. But for them, they didn't know, and they kept moving forward and moving forward. I know as you click, this one comes, takes you to another link, you open, and then you enjoy. And we somehow, because for us, how we monitor, always check the history, we know what is happening. Because they have laptops which are used for doing different things. They are now graphic designers. We're trying to teach them how to use a laptop and typing and know these things, because some of the things you cannot do away without them. But we learned that they were getting into that. So what did we do? We made sure that we sat them down and talked to all of them and said, where are you heading? It is bad. And we asked them, what did it happen? They said, as I was opening the laptop, and and this time they were going on Zoom for a certain program. And then it popped. So after Zoom, they got interested to know what was this about. And they went there and led them almost into pornography. Now, imagine if we had not gotten to know on time and check.
Yes.
Or if you were not enough to tell us, Daddy, this is happening, and you were very open to us.
Yes.
Said, Daddy, we are sorry. But for us, we also saw it once and we wanted to know what's happening.
Yes.
But how we got to know is that we went there and monitored.
Yes.
So, if we had not come on time to monitor, for them,
Yes.
they would have kept enjoying and checking and moving further. And that's how, when you interact with children who are addicted to these gadgets or pornography, they tell, and even masturbation, they tell that for them, the first time they watched,
Yes.
they got interested.
Yes.
And they wanted to know more. So they kept watching and watching until they could not do away
They could not
with it.
control themselves. Which is the addiction point now.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dickson. Amazing conversation. We are going to be taking a break shortly. But just before the break, you shared about some of the effects, how it manifests. In our case, our daughter Ruby was I think she was about 4 or 5, maybe 5. We noticed something, that she would go to bed. Normally they go to bed at about 8:30. She would go to bed and not sleep. Now she's a heavy sleeper, like myself. When she goes to bed, she sleeps. But she would be in bed for like an hour and she's not sleeping. She comes back. She goes to bed at 8, comes back at 10:30. She didn't have any gadgets, she's just in the bed, but she's not sleeping. Then we had this conversation with someone else, and the conversation of screen time came up. And the conversation was, what does she do before she goes to bed?
Yeah.
And then we noticed that she was using the iPad, watching just before going to bed. Now, something about those pictures, and the person explained that these pictures, exactly, they just keep coming quickly. And I could also tell that she was becoming a bit impatient, because when something is boring, put on the next one. When something is not working, just put on the next one. Click on this one. So I noticed it was even getting into her behavior.
Yeah.
She was now becoming irritable. You take it away, she sulks, becomes irritable, her mood changes. She cannot sleep because the pictures are still running in her mind. Now she cannot even sleep. So we decided to regulate screen time. The girl began to sleep. And that is quite interesting. How a little change can make a profound difference. Great. So we are going to take a break right about now. And when we return from the break, we shall be talking about some of the ways that we can manage addictions. Addictions to gadgets. What are some of the ways we can manage them? How do we deal with this issue? How do we regulate screen time for our children so that they do not fall into the trap of addiction? We've talked about what it is. We've talked about the impact that it can have. We've talked about why parents struggle with addictions in their children. Why some of the real things that came up here. We looked at things like parents are naive. They are not even aware that a child using the gadget a lot can lead to addiction. We looked at things like the parent himself is addicted. So how do you help somebody when you yourself are dealing with a problem? That said, Dickson, how do you tell that this child has now moved from using the gadget regularly to becoming addicted?
Yeah, actually, you already gave one of the examples.
Yes.
The sleeping disorders, that you observed in your child.
Yes.
What happens? Most of for you to know that your child is getting addicted and there's a problem which you need to pay attention to, look at the sleeping order. When does my child sleep and for how much?
Yes.
Because there are some children who actually have gadgets in their own rooms, bedrooms.
Yes.
And in the night, for you, as you go to sleep, the child stays. And when I'm talking about a child, I'm looking at from the young ones even up to the youth.
Thank you for clarifying that, because for some reason, when we talk about children, we might think about
the young ones.
The young ones.
But I'm talking to the people that you have in your household.
Thank you.
Yes. As long as someone is still under your control. Maybe even if someone is older than adult, maybe it's above 20, but it's someone who's still under your control and is your child. So I'm talking generally about everyone in your household that is still under your control. So some people have gadgets in their rooms.
Yes.
And they go and they have these gadgets. So when they go to sleep, they don't actually sleep. They spend a lot of time on those gadgets. It's now 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and someone is still on the gadget. And in the morning, then you see them sleeping now more time.
Yes.
When they're supposed to be waking up, maybe to do certain activity.
Yes.
But they're not waking up. Or they sleep just completely. So you should know that this is a whole day. someone should be up, or maybe this is school time, like for example, this is now school time.
Yes.
Someone should be waking up at 5:30 to go to school to be at school by 6. But it's now 7, someone has not woken up.
Yes.
Even maybe to go and work. What is happening? So that can tell there's a challenge,
problem,
especially when you see that it's a trend
Yes.
that has been happening for a given period of time. But also some children get eating disorders. They can't eat normally because somehow their mind is not focused on one thing. They are just jumpy, they're hypertensive, you know. So you need to see why. How come that my child is no longer eating very well like those days? What is happening? And then also some nightmares. The child sleeps and the whole night the child is either screaming, is either crying, or is talking alone. You know, many things.
Yes.
Get to know why is this happening every night. What is happening? What is the situation? And also trying to inquire what were you trying to say? What were you watching? What were you dreaming about?
Yes.
And let the child explain. Some also have anxiety, fear, because maybe they could have watched something and that could have put them into panic.
Yeah.
And of course they get traumatized, and when they maybe when they just see something that they ever watched, it can cause them a lot of panic and fear, and like. So you need to be watching what is happening.
Yes.
But also other people get bored and they don't want to talk to you.
Yes.
You're in a family, maybe it's time for meals or it's time for prayers.
Yeah.
Someone doesn't want to come to join others. And someone doesn't want to talk to you.
Yes.
They feel happy when they are lonely.
So they withdraw.
They withdraw
from
from the public, from even you, the parents, from even the family members. So when this thing is happening, you as a parent, take time and ask yourself, why is this happening?
Yes.
What's going on? So don't just take it for granted.
Yes.
And then you feel maybe it's my child's character. Maybe something is troubling this child. Be inquisitive and find out and say, my dear son, my dear boy, my dear girl, what is not happening these days? I see this happening. It's not your usual character. Can I know? So take time to talk, inquire, and don't be aggressive. Even if you find it's true, actually this child is maybe addicted or is a greater impact that is happening negatively. Yeah. And maybe you cannot believe it. Don't just be quick to judge and comment and then beat. No. Yes. Take time. Because at that time, the child may be already out of sense. Yes. And what the child needs is to bring him back to his or her normal senses. True. So when you come with it, a lot of energy to kill and destroy, because you are so angry and annoyed and disappointed, you might destroy even the little that was remaining. Thank you. And at the end of the day, you are the loser as a parent.
I'm looking at this list. And the question that is coming to my mind: sleeping disorders, eating disorders, nightmares, anxiety, withdrawal from public, and so much more.
Stress, distress, depression.
What would happen if these things continue? Where could this lead?
Yes, where could this lead? Of course, mental challenges always happen, especially when we're talking about depression. Because if a child is watching things which are threatening him, the child would get so much, threatened and growing up with anxiety, with fear, and all this leads to stress. And when stress is not controlled, it leads into depression. Very true. But also suicidal challenges.
That's the point.
And also others kill others. Recently, I think it was, I don't know which year, but we remember a child who watched others fighting and killing each other. And the child killed a fellow child. Wow. I think the child was around, I don't remember the age, but around 9. Yes. And this child killed a fellow child. And when the child was asked, the child said that we were watching TV. And so I also wanted to put into practice what I was watching. Yeah, I remember this wrestling where they would jump like on top of the roof and then they come. Yes. So the child wants to try, because for children they are so much inquisitive. Yes. And they want to practice what they have been watching. Yes. So the child killed another child. So it can lead to committing suicide, can lead to committing adultery. It can lead even to practicing what you've been watching. Yes. Pornography, that's how the things are happening. Sure. And of course, these days now that we are hearing about homosexuality, LGBT, which is coming up now and then, the pressure is too much on us. Peer pressure on every corner, on both parents and children. Sure. I want to urge parents, take time and monitor these things and be inquisitive and know what is happening. You just take it for granted. Yeah. Know what your child is doing, know what your child is watching, know what your child is hearing, know what your child is reading. Yeah. And talk to them. True. In a way of counseling them. Yes. Don't just keep quiet and say, maybe they will learn from school, they will learn from church, or maybe how do I handle it as a parent? Now, if you as a parent fear to talk to your child and give very good information, and even age-appropriate information, will the other person who is interested in destroying your child give good information that can spare your child from death, they will know it. So
Yeah.
if you don't handle this thing, the end result might be bad for you. Either
Very true.
your child will get into coma, addiction, and get into coma, or get into depression, and then you have to go to rehabilitation.
Yes.
And it's expensive to rehabilitate your child.
Oh, yes.
So it comes back to the parent to know, how do I help to mitigate the challenge
Very
at
true.
hand, on time?
Thank you. Just like anything.
Yes.
For example, a car. If you begin to hear that rare sound in the bonnet, maybe under the car, and you neglect it,
You neglect it.
and it continues, and you continue to neglect it, before you know it,
It will
That engine might
escalate
knock.
into something else, yeah.
that water pump might burst. That timing belt might break.
And you spend more.
And then you have to spend more. Oh, it happened to me this week. Yes, there was this sound that kept coming in the car, and I just said,
Ignore it.
maybe it will be fine. Or you'd rather get used to it. Before you know it, what was small has ended up becoming big.
Affecting even others.
Others, and
so you're
now
spending
you-
a lot of money, you're spending a lot of time
The
in the garage,
inconvenience.
and when you not even get back to its stable state.
Wow. Throughout this conversation, we have somehow alluded on some of the things that we can do to
manage.
mitigate and overcome the issue of addictions. For example, we talked about being friends with our children on their social media platforms. So knowing what they post.
What they post.
Another thing that you mentioned is follow them. Follow them and look through the comments. What are people saying? Someone could be bullying your child, and yet you, by knowing about it, you might come in and support your
Yeah,
child
support your
because
child,
there's
yes.
cyberbullying. You talked about paying attention, being curious, being observant, taking note that there is something not happening well in my child.
Like raise your antenna.
Exactly.
Whether
Let
spiritual-
your tenterhooks be up.
Yes.
So being observant, being curious, being inquisitive, you have rightly brought that out. You've talked about talking to them. Just talking to them, what's happening in your life, and finding out some of those things. You've talked about, of course, being curious and being observant, taking note and watching. What are some of the other things you would encourage a parent, a father, a mother watching this program to go home and do as far as mitigating this issue is concerned?
I think I want to request parents that as you're going to buy this gadget for your child, know the purpose of buying it. Is it out of pressure? Peer pressure from your child? Like your child says, you must buy it. I want this phone. And this kind of a phone, which is even expensive than the one you have, as you're saying this.
Yes.
Or it's because of a certain program which is helpful to your child. For example, now, since COVID, we have gone online, online teaching. So if it's for academic purposes, studying, and it's important, it must be like for us at UCU.
Yes.
We have blended learning now.
You have blended learning.
Blended learning. So
Yes.
your child, you must buy either a laptop or a smartphone for your child, so that the child can follow. Because some classes are done online.
Yes.
So there you have no option but to buy the phone.
Okay.
But if it's not because of that, then not buy this gadget for your child.
Okay.
And if you must have a phone, maybe for just phone calls,
Yes.
to monitor where your child is, maybe for example, like for us, our child,
Yes.
we have the Katochi for a
This
10-year-old.
Kabiditi.
Yes, Kabiditi for a 10-year-old child.
Yeah, the Kabiditi, for those who may be non-Ugandan audience, that is a small phone that is just like
Yeah, which is not a
a
smartphone.
matchbox, but just small, really.
Yeah,
Not a smartphone.
Not a smartphone.
Yes.
But we just give it to them because sometimes we let them go for because they were during holidays, they were doing a lot of. Every holiday we have a package for them.
Yes.
Like last holiday they were last year they were doing keyboard training.
Okay.
But this holiday they were doing graphics design. So at some we want to know what time have they reached there, what time, like want to monitor even when they are with that teacher.
Yes.
So somehow gave them that kabidi, that phone, that small phone, just for on the calls.
Yes.
But now that they are back at school, we have withdrawn the phone from them.
Yes.
So it's now us who are in control.
Thank
So
you.
when you buy that gadget for a reason, for a purpose, let it serve that purpose. And when that purpose is done, withdraw that gadget and keep it for that purpose.
Sure.
I mean for that time.
Yes.
But also, you're the one who is also buying data for this child.
Yes.
If the data is used, if you tell them, I am going to give you data for whichever reason you're using it for.
Yes.
But this data is for the whole week. If you use it in 1 day or 2 days and it's done,
You are done for the week.
they agree and say, I will not give you more data.
Yes.
So the child knows that I'm going to be using this data responsibly.
Yes.
And that also limits them from what they are watching and how they are using it.
Yes.
But when as you're buying this data for your child, tell them, I'm giving you this gadget and I'm also giving you this data. But remember, ABC. Actually, someone was thinking that for them, they made a contract between the child and the parent.
Okay.
And I got a copy of seeing what is happening.
Yes.
And the child says, I would be responsible for using this gadget between this time and this time.
Yes.
Agreeing on the screen time or on the time you're going to spend on that gadget.
Yes.
So that there were terms and conditions on that contract.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, the parent they says, I have read and understood all the above.
The terms above.
Yes. And the child appends the signature and even the parent.
Wow.
And of course, this also comes with that helps the child to learn self-management.
Yes.
That if I go beyond what I'm supposed to be doing, and then I'll be in for it. So set time limit for what the children are doing.
Yeah.
Have terms and conditions to be followed, or regulations, rules and regulations that are going to be followed, so the child knows, if I do this, this is the punishment, this is the repercussion.
Yes.
And be clear and straightforward with the rules and regulations.
Yes.
And the consequences, if they are not well followed.
Yes.
But also, you as a parent, I want to emphasize this: monitor. If you have given this gadget to a child, maybe smartphone, for learning purposes,
yes,
not your child will be tempted.
Yes.
Because the child, maybe if the child is in high school,
yes,
or at university, most of them are already on social media platforms.
Yes.
Know what they are doing, what they are posting.
Let me ask you, Dickson. If you gave your child a smartphone, do you have the right to get the phone anytime and check, or is that encroaching on their privacy? Speak about that.
There's nothing like privacy. This is my phone.
Okay.
So tell them, of course, if they're very old enough, they're very they are more knowledgeable and have a lot of tactics
to play around with the
you.
recent history.
Yes, and even playing around you and play so much that you don't know what is happening.
Yes, they will know how to clean it up, and so
you don't have to set time and say, I will be coming at this time to pick the phone.
Yes.
Do impromptu visits, even in their bedrooms.
What they used to do to us in school.
Yes.
Roll call at 2 a.m.
Yeah, when you don't expect it.
Yes.
When they are sleeping at 3 a.m. Go there. These are your children. This is your house. You're the one who is paying for. Yeah, you're the one paying school fees. You're the one buying food. Everything is around you. It's about you.
Yes.
Go and say, let me look at your phone.
Yes.
You look at go on their WhatsApp chats.
Okay.
Look at the last time they were chatting.
Yes.
Of course, some of them will chat and delete.
Yes.
But still use different ways of making
monitoring.
Sure. Monitoring.
Yes.
Do it maybe during the day, maybe when they are even doing it. Say, let me look at what you're doing. Then if a child takes off or says, Mommy, this can't be, you can't.
Yes.
You know, yes, this is happening.
There is something to hide here.
Yes. So you need to be very careful on how you're doing it, but don't stop monitoring. And they shouldn't read your time of when you're doing what.
Yes.
And then also, communication is very important. But how do you communicate, especially because for example, some children become so aggressive, and even their behavior is so uncontrollable. So when you are talking to that child, and then you also come when you are high,
yes,
you're hyper, both of you may not reach somewhere. Two wrongs can't correct.
True.
The right, you can't come to the right conclusion. So for you can be at that moment you can pretend to be a fool.
Yes.
But you hit the point and you play your role and you say, I must say this and it must be clearly followed.
Yes.
Again, as we're managing, know that you as a parent you also need to be a role model.
Okay.
How much time do you spend on this screen? How much time do you spend on this gadget? If you're someone who is always also addicted, you're the one maybe on screen, you're the one who watches soaps from morning up to evening. Actually, I have some friends, male friends.
Yes.
In their homes, some of them actually they don't even have jobs. And you know what they do is to just be there watching TV from morning up to evening.
Hey.
And especially when it comes to ladies. Now, if you're a father, you don't have a job, and the whole day you're watching screen, how would you tell your child to go and wash plates?
Yes.
Go and do this. When they have been watching with you and they also and they are enjoying with you, you're asking, so how did it go? Or maybe you're the one even narrating the story. Recently, we had the story from Dr. This guy was talking about homosexuality. I've forgotten his name.
Stephen Langa.
No, not Stephen Langa. I've forgotten his name. But he was telling us what is happening around children and how they get addicted to homosexuality. And he was narrating this, that how some children were saying that sorry,
Yeah.
that thing has. But let me get back to the point I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like you children, they get into these things because you are not giving them alternatives. You withdraw maybe some gadgets, and then you don't give them alternatives.
Yes.
So when you withdraw a gadget and you take it away from
Yes,
them,
yes.
provide alternative. Be there for them. Give them quality time.
Thank
or
you.
give them other activities which they can do, so that
Yes.
they kill their time which they have spent
Yes.
on social media, on TV.
Sure.
If it's at home, and you said my children spend a lot of time on screen watching
Yes.
this and the other, and you have so many now stations
Many options.
which are doing a lot of things,
Yes.
different of them,
Oh,
and
yes.
having different programs.
yes.
And so you can never be bored as long
Yes.
as, if you don't want them to watch screen at that time, then let them do house chores.
Yes.
Because you cannot have your child right away from morning up to evening watching
Yes.
when they are places to be washed,
Very true.
when they don't know how to cook,
Yes.
when they can't wash their clothes, when they can't even bathe themselves,
Yes.
and you're comfortable with that.
Yes.
Teach them these house
Life skills.
Yes, yeah.
Recently, I sat with my daughter, 6 years old,
Mhm.
about a week ago actually. We did this last week, about 6 days ago. So we sat down and we said things to do in place of watching TV. So we listed down. We kept listing until we had 14 items. So we pinned it on the wall. And we said, I told her, you see, TV is good, but too much of it is not good for you. And I explained to her why I felt too much of it becomes bad for her. So I said, it's not that I don't want you to watch. I would like you to watch. We also watch sometimes, and we watch together. But too much of it is not good. The question now becomes, which is what you have rightly said, that if you'd withdraw it, then what is the alternative?
That's the
Because
alternative.
nature abhors a vacuum.
Yes,
They say
yes.
an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yeah.
So the devil thrives in idleness. So fill the void that has been created by this
Withdraw.
gadget and replace it with something that is
Something.
more productive. So we listed down, you can clean, she likes to water the plants outside, I can water the plants. I said, what else? She can do a puzzle, I can organize my room, I can assist with the home, laying the table. Oh my, we listed down 14 items. And with that, she even has no time now.
She has no time.
She said, you know what, I'm not even going to watch anything on TV until Sunday because I see I have enough on my plate.
And you can even make a timetable.
Yes.
And agree that you're going to watch screen from this time and this time.
Yes.
Or I'm going to give you my phone after you have fulfilled ABCD. Because you know, when I remember we reach at home,
Very
our children want to pick phones from us and
Yes.
do either games or even watch our
Yeah.
videos or see pictures or chat with their friends
Yes.
using our own phones.
True.
So you need to agree that before I give you my phone, the phone should have been done. Or if I have given you my phone, it is for this given period of time. And I also want to tell parents who always use gadgets for distraction.
Yes.
I am busy, and because I am busy, I don't want my child to distract me. Let me give them
The phone.
the phone, or let me put them on screen, and I am
And
watching.
I focus,
they are
I
watching.
have my me time.
Yes, my me time.
Keep them away.
away from me. And then you're there, and you forget about this child. You know what? That's how these dangers
Yes.
happen. The addiction,
Created.
yeah. And then so make sure that you also avoid that. As you do all this, remember that at the end of the day, your family matters a lot than anything else.
Thank you.
And value the negative impact compared to the positive impact.
Yes.
Which way is much more than the other?
Yeah.
And which side would you want to take? And maybe if you get to know that, then it can help you to know how you're going to regulate your child's time with these gadgets. And that
Yes.
can help you. Sort of a lot of challenges might be happening under your roof.
Thank you. Sounds like a fitting place for us to cap this conversation. I like that parting shot that you said, that as you do all this, remember that your family matters a lot. Your family matters. A man out there, your family matters. Don't leave your family to chance. Build your family by choice. Limit, be involved, monitor, be curious, be observant, watch, check, do everything. Don't be the kind that is completely off. Don't be hands off. No. Be involved, because you cannot leave your child's future to chance. Build it by choice. Look at what they are watching. check, talk to them, substitute that screen time with something more productive. There are so many screens. By the way, I forgot to mention something. I heard somewhere that the owners of the Silicon Valley companies, where these apps are done and all these technologies are designed and developed before they come down here, I am informed that those people who designed these things, who designed these gadgets that our children are using, don't allow their children to use those gadgets.
It's like the companies that you are talking about, the ones which make alcohol, and say, don't take this alcohol if you're under 18.
Yes.
Don't smoke when you're under 18.
Yes.
But at the same time, they're the ones doing it. But to their children, because they know the impact, they don't want. But first, we let our children
watch anything. So that just tells you that even the people who make them know
the impact.
They know the impact, and that's why their own children, they will not allow them to touch it. Why? Because the more they do it, the more it kills those creative cells that would be developing and designing apps to change humanity. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation. It has been all about managing addictions to gadgets in children. I hope you take away something that you're going to apply in your life, in your family, and to your children. Let us raise responsible children. Let us raise children that are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. Let us raise children that are going to impact society and transform nations. This has been the Inspired Family Leader Program, an inspiring, provocative, and insightful program that enables, challenges, and equips men to elevate their leadership in their homes. Because if it does not work at home, it cannot work elsewhere. Good night. Cheers. Blessings.
See you.